Now, across the border, 5 Kenyan soldiers were killed on Wednesday and 10 were wounded when their car ran over a homemade bomb north of the country. A statement from the Kenyan Defense Forces did not say who it believed was responsible for the attack, although it referenced lurking terror elements in the region. Africa 54's Esther Githui-Ewart joins me now with more on our interview with Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyatta. Esther.
Vincent, one of the most devastating attacks from Al-Shabaab militants occurred in September 2013 when they attacked the Westgate Mall, killing 71 people and wounding 200 others. Kenyan security officials say the terrorist group is currently using the Boni forest that cuts across the Kenya-Somalia border as a hideout and base for attacks. In this third and final part of my interview with Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyatta, it's clear the militants still pose a security threat to the entire East Africa region. Mr. President, with regards to Somalia, you had to deal with Al-Shabaab militants having attacked Kenya, decimating people, creating a lot of chaos. And there have been some calls within your Kenyan legislators asking that you pull out of Somalia. Is that something that is likely to happen? How is the war against terrorism going on?
Well, like I said, this is even some of the issues that we will be discussing with our American counterparts. We all are hopeful that we shall all be able to pull out of Somalia in the shortest possible time, that we will be able to work together with the federal government of Somalia to be able to strengthen them, that they are able to take care of the security concerns within their own country, and so that we can pull back to our borders and reduce that costs that we are currently bearing and be able to focus that on other more productive areas. So we would be hopeful, and we are constantly encouraging and working with our Somali counterparts, with the AU under the AMISOM umbrella, because Kenya is not the only country that has troops there, working together with various other organizations to help our Somali brothers and sisters to come together and to be able to focus on their own country, bring them together, and eliminate this threat that is a threat not just to Kenya, but is also a threat to the Somali people themselves. So until we are in such a situation, it is impossible for us to say when or the withdrawal date shall be this. The withdrawal date is based on us being able to defeat Al-Shabaab, on the Somali people being able to establish strong, solid security structures, a national army, and good administrative structures that will then ensure that they are capable of handling their own affairs. I think that should be the focus, as opposed to when people will withdraw, because we can't say we are going to withdraw and leave a vacuum. There must be something to replace that vacuum. And a withdrawal date should be tied towards a scenario where the people of Somalia have themselves been able to establish and to take care of the security concerns in their country, as well as the administrative foundations that they shall need to build a strong and stable Somalia.
I'm wondering, Mr. President, this is your second and last term as President of Kenya. How do you want your legacy to be written?
I want my legacy to be one of bringing our nation and our people together, a nation that will have confidence in its institutions, a nation that will have left corruption and the issues of nepotism and other things that have been a destructive element to our country. I wish to be able to leave Kenya on a foundation that is better and irreversible, and where Kenyans and the international community can have confidence, not in the individual who leads, but in the institutions that we shall create.
Well, Esther, thank you very much. Excellent reporting there.
Thank you.
Yeah, and we want to talk a little bit more about some of the things perhaps that didn't come out in the interview. President Kenyatta says he's very, very serious about fighting corruption, but we know that this came out of the handshake, the famous handshake between him and the opposition leader Raila Odinga. Did he explain why now, though?
Well, yes, because he wants to leave a great legacy, as you just heard in the interview. He wants a Kenya. He said he's angry about two things: about Kenya being associated with corruption, and Kenya being associated with violence every 5 years when they go to the polls. That's when Kenyans decide, okay, we are in this tribal cocoon. Those two things really bothers him, and he doesn't want that to go on. Now, with the fight against corruption and the handshake with Raila Odinga, he says he believes 100% that Mr. Odinga is behind him. They are building what they call building bridges, cutting across Kenyan societies to bring cohesion to the country. And with regards to corruption, we've seen a lot, including yesterday, where the Deputy Chief Justice was arrested for a while, released on a 5 million Kenya shillings bond. Her case has been halted for a while, but there have been big fish being arrested for corruption. And the State House has a website, Nairobi State House has a website where they are showing how they are recovering the assets from these corrupt officials. So I think it looks serious. We're going to see in the next couple of years how this turns around. But from the standpoint and from what he told us on the interview, he is 100% serious. He does not want to hear, oh, Kenya, is that the country associated with corruption and psycho-violence? He wants that to be history.
Yes. And then, of course, the issue of development, besides the destruction that was there after the elections, and of course, it was supposed to be followed up by more stable economic development.
He has set up something he is calling the Big Four agenda. And I think these are great things for Kenyans. One of them is food security. He wants food security for all Kenyans. The question of famine in certain parts of the country should be over. So he has set up another agenda, which includes universal health care for Kenyans, as well as manufacturing. He expects that if there's manufacturing, a lot of people will be able to get jobs and put food on the table. And one of the other things is affordable housing. As you know, there are slums in Nairobi, there are slums in other places. With the devastating rain that we saw, the flooding and a lot of houses being washed away, that kind of stuff, he doesn't want to see that. And within this four agenda, there's one thing that kind of struck me, that the president is recognizing women who he calls the trailblazers that are doing well, and this cuts across the age groups, the older women, the younger, anybody coming up with something that is helping the society. Yeah. He wants to recognize those people as well.
We've run out of time, but we know that also there is going to be direct flights from the United States to Kenya in a way of boosting the ties between these two countries.
Beginning October 28th,
exactly.
Fully booked by now.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Esther, and we have to say you've done a good job. Excellent reporting there.